So Cinderella 9 took a 3-week break from its production schedule, and so I find it fitting that I also took a 3-week break from doing these podcasts. But the show goes on, and in episode 9 at the very beginning, Tsubasa mentions the phrase training camp, and that's when Shinonome suddenly decides that they needed to do a training camp. I really hope that this mirrors how the production team decided that they were going to do a training camp episode. I'm sure they were like a few episodes in before they realized, oh my god, this is a very typical show. We need to do the typical training camp episode. And it's typical. They have the thing where the girls suck doing the baseball things at first, and then they get better with repeated practice. They do the thing where they all eat a very poorly prepared meal that gives them strength to do the baseball things the following day. And then they do the atypical thing where the head priest might be a ghost. This is the only supernatural thing that this show has tried, and it's fine. For the most part, I like episodes like this for the show because it focuses much more on the non-baseball aspects. And this show really needs to focus on its non-baseball aspects because the animation that they do for the baseball scenes is still pretty bad for the most part. There are a couple things that they get right. There's this one thing that they do with someone's wind-up that they show 3 times in a row that's actually pretty cool. But otherwise, the speed and the movement of the ball and the general fluidity of everything is pretty bad. Episode 10, before the tournament begins, the girls at Sato High decide to host a game against one of the powerhouse teams, and as such they need to prepare a strategy. And Shinonome and Tsubasa decide that there are too many players and not enough starting positions, and 2 people need to be relegated. And those 2 people are originals. It's Ugita, our right fielder who's being benched in favor of a younger player, and Kawakita, who is our former second baseman who is also being benched. Shinonome probably would like to cut them off from the team entirely, but Tsubasa sees them as valuable members of the team, and since her ethos is just about getting everyone to play, she decides to use them as base coaches, one as the first base coach and one as the third base coach. I like how this keeps the characters involved, and I like how it still supports Tsubasa's theory of everybody having fun. And so they begin their game, and they quickly discover that the powerhouse team has not sent their starters, but the second string to play against Sato High. And this ends up being a good thing for Sato High because they show this powerhouse team that they're actually better than anticipated. And as they beat this team, they grow confidence in themselves. So, episode 11, which I believe is probably the penultimate episode. There's either 1 or 2 episodes left, but the way this arc is going, it would make more sense if this was the second to last one. Sato High draws Seijo High, which was a former powerhouse that just reinstated their girls' baseball team. This was the team that they played earlier in this season in a practice game where they got absolutely smacked. As it turns out, Sato and Seijo are staying at the same place before their game the following day. Seijo is very much all business. They are not wanting to interact with Sato, and they're only focused on winning the following day's game. Whereas Sato High has developed this identity of having nothing to lose, and therefore they're having as much fun as they possibly can. They're soaking in all of the energy of their tournament, and instead of trying to see it as a goal to achieve, they're just enjoying themselves and being in the moment. This has very much become Tsubasa's team, as everyone has embodied the ethos of having fun together instead of winning at all costs, which is what a team led by Shinonome would be like. And that's the one thing this show has gone away from that I think it needs to reignite. The idea of Tsubasa's theory of everybody having fun as a collective against Shinonome's theory of winning at all costs could have played the central conflict in this show. Instead, it seems as if all the attention is being focused on Tsubasa saying her way is obviously the correct way, and Shinonome's way of winning at all costs has no bearing on this show anymore. And I think that's too bad, because I think both sides have a really good argument, and I would have liked to see that play out a bit more. Maybe it will in the final episode, but as of right now, what we have is Sato High gaining an early lead on Seijo, taking advantage of some errors that the Seijo defenders had in the first couple of innings, It seems as if they're very wound up from being so serious and so businesslike, and Sato is very loose and they're very confident in the fun that they're having. The other thing I really liked about this episode was that I can tell that the animation has not gotten any better, especially anything involving baseball scenes. But what this show has improved upon pretty drastically is hiding all their flaws in the animation. I think Cross Game does this very well in that the animators knew that they didn't really have the resources or they didn't really have the skills to make it look like Ace of Diamond or Major, for example. So they used a lot of still frames, they used a lot of shot and counter shot to make it appear as if there was tension and there was action without actually having to show the action. And it seems like this show is doing a better job of doing that. They're hiding a lot of their flaws and still making it seem as if there's action going on. This doesn't make it good, per se, but it does make it more palatable to watch. And as this show is ending, it has really settled into the mindset of just being a show about cute girls playing baseball. If you expect anything more out of this show, you will be sorely disappointed. I will be back the following week with what I anticipate will be the final edition of this podcast, and I'm looking forward to wrapping it up, so I'll see you then.